she has joined us as well. Assalamu alaikum Zahra to you as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 students at the moment, and I think now we're good to go. Yeah. I am good, Zara. Thank you so much. I hope you're fine as well. May I know, Zara, what you are specializing in? Because I've asked other people as well. No, that is fine. Not a problem. No need to apologize. It's okay. I understand. Prayers are first. Then other thing comes. My timings are here 12:20, so it's not even Zohar prayer. Okay, we will start this. As you all know, we're going to be going through the Block 4 today, which is strategic information systems planning for e-business networks. I'll go to the next slide. Before continuing further, I think it's always good to go through the summary of what exactly we are going to be studying in this subject, and the whole objectives studying this thing is to understand the following thing, as you can see on the screen, which is describing the evolution of SISP process through 4 stages of IS, and then applying SISP to business networks, and then applying supply and demand chain management techniques to B2B and B2C analysis, which probably you have studied in your previous blocks. Identify stages of growth in IS and e-business, and participate in an e-business. I'm sure you must have gone through the whole book, the whole syllabus for this topic. I will recommend, whenever you guys are having this online lectures, it's always handy to go through the whole book first, because when you've gone through it, you probably have some idea about what exactly you're going to be studying today, or when you've got a little bit of information about it, and then on top of that, when you get a lecture from a lecturer, then it helps. It makes things more easy to understand, to go forward, because at the moment I'm not quite sure how effective these online lectures are, because when you're in the classroom, the students are going to ask you the questions straight away. You're going to be more it's going to be more interactive, but we will try to make it as simple as possible. So these are the 5 objectives, which when you go through the whole block, you should be able to understand these 5 things. You should be having some knowledge about this. That's the whole purpose of this block, I would say. So going to the screen number 3. Let me just look it on my, I think that's easy to look at there. Okay, so we can see in the introduction, as the use of the computers and telecommunications have changed. Okay, before I go further, I would ask you guys one thing. Are all of you comfortable that we go on with this lecture in total English, or we want to have a mixed lecture in English and Urdu both? I'm sorry, I didn't ask you guys this thing before, but I mean, I'm expecting, because we are studying an English subject, and if I'm delivering everything in English, I hope that is okay to understand. Or you can tell me if any of you have got any problem in understanding my accent, or am I too fast, or should I be speaking a bit slowly? So I would appreciate. Okay, that is fine. But the way I'm speaking, is that okay, or I have to be a little slow with it, or is it fine? Speed is fine. Okay. Okay, that's good. Good to hear that. So in the introduction, it's a brief thing, as the use of computers and telecommunication have changed over time. So too have the approaches to planning and utilization of an organization's information system and information technology. As we all know that because of the IT system in place nowadays, it kind of became a necessity to a business. So in the old ages it was not a problem because it was all like everything was done through an old age system and there was not much awareness of IT. And nowadays, as you can see, everything around you is based on information system, and every business require to have more reliable, authentic systems in place to make things more easy for them, to have integrated systems, and this all require an information system. So we will be studying about that as well going forward. But there was just like a brief introduction. Now we can see like how the IS planning has evolved. So basically, it all started from what you call the data processing age. Just going through the slide, it says that data processing, which is DP era, is generally identified as beginning in the 1960s. So from the history, we can see like in the 1960s, the basic data processing system started, and the emphasis was primarily on applying the newfound technologies of computing to the automation of basic business transactions, and so achieving efficiency gains for the organization. So as we can see, like, you know, the primary focus was to gain an efficiency and make more accuracy into the business transaction. So I would say like nowadays we've got accounting systems in place which gives you information about profit and loss accounts and things like that. So initially, I would say when the data processing started, it started with a thing called doing the basics for the business, which is like, you know, they just wanted to have some basics function of the business automated, so that everything is automated. It brings more efficiency to the businesses, it brings more accuracy to the business, it brings more reliability to the things. Going forward, we can see, as it says, typically this process of automation took place function by function, and the planning horizons were primarily constrained by project and system implementation. This means that they were more focused on each system, on each project. So the actual DP system was more like a system which was not talking to the other system within the business, which was like on its own. So I would say that it was the different functions of the businesses, they were not interlinked with each. So it was basically talking more about each function, and the primary focus was to run a project, and on that it was giving information about that project. Whatever it could be profit and loss of that project, it could be different stages of that project, it could be anything, but the DP was like focusing on each project. Now, fragmented islands of automation developed within the organization. So when they say fragmented islands of automation, it means like each process and each talking to another project. Basically, each project was not being evaluated with another project of the company. So each on its own evaluation, it was just like one project, one analysis for that project. So it was more of that thing. And if you read the last point, which is subsequent planning efforts were remedial in that their aim was to develop interfaces between these dissimilar systems. So again, it's the same thing as I said before, that it was the DB was basically focused on each project. It was focused more on the reliability, efficiency of that system which was in place. So this is where it started from. Now moving forward, then we can say there is the rise of management information system came in place. As you can read through it, it says as more data became stored across the organization, and with the advent of more flexible and user-friendly tools, managers were encouraged and increasingly enabled to access data from more than one of the islands of automation that created, manipulated, and stored records for the organization. They were provided with new tools for the job through what we call management information system. I'll read more points and then we'll. The new MIS thinking took a broader view of organizational activity. Within MIS system, the effectiveness of managerial performance and decision making was highlighted, with IS planning focusing more on developing a portfolio of information systems that supported and facilitated management, decision making, and the effective monitoring and control of employee activities. It is important to note that planning during both the DP and MIS era was primarily internally oriented. Now, two things in it. One thing which we studied in the DP was just 1 minute. Yeah, that's fine. Just open it. Sorry about that. So after the DP in the MIS, the main difference was that as you can read, the management was given a portfolio of information systems. Control of employee activities, monitoring the control of employee activities. So if the initial system was giving you only project by project information in terms of reliability and planning, this MIS was broader. Basically, the different systems were talking to each other, and then obviously they were not only controlling the accuracy of the things. Instead of that, what they were doing is that they were monitoring the employee activities as well. So basically, it was enhanced. It was an enhanced system when comparing it to the first one, which is the data processing. Because the data processing was, I would say, like, it was not giving information about the performance, about how the things are done. It was just giving it the numbers. That this is the data, this is the output process, and this is the outcome. Okay, Ikra, you're saying no distortion. Just 1 minute, yeah? Maybe is that okay now? My voice, is it okay now? Please do let me know when you guys think that the voice becomes okay and there is no distortion. No, it's fine. Okay, all right. I'll ask people around me not to make much noises because that creates a bit of distortion in the voice. That is fine. I'm sorry about that. So, okay, where were we? We were saying about the data processing was a system which was just giving the information about the reliability, about making, I mean, it was more talking about one system, but then the MIS gave you more information about different systems in place in the organization, monitoring and control of employee activities, a portfolio of information systems. Basically, so that's the main difference. But you guys need to see one thing. Even the first one and second one, they were both primarily focusing that internally oriented. Everything they were talking about, all the analysis, all the performances, that was all related to the internal processes of the company. So that's the thing which we need to monitor. I mean, what you guys can do is that you can go through the booklet as well, and it gives you more information. So the good way of understanding anything is while you're reading through it, whatever the points it mentions that system does it, you always make them in points, and then you can always evaluate those things. And once you've got the points, then it's easy to see the differences between the two systems. Now going forward, now we can see the evolution of IS/IT planning. As you can see, the graph is a very self-explanatory, I would say, and you can see the DP era in it. DP era is like two computers, which means in an organization, let's say they've got two DP systems. You've got two systems, but they're not talking to each other. They're not doing any kind of each other's, but you've got systems in place. Talk about the next one, which is MIS era, which is internal integration. Again, you've got so many systems in place within the organization, but now the good thing is they're talking to each other, so everyone can interrelate each system to another system. Now we are coming to the point where it says SIS. system, which is obviously you can see in the SIS system, Strategic Information System. It is focused areas around you as well. You can see this picture in the middle, which is our organization. In place in them, which is representing the DP, but then because they're talking to each other, now we can say, okay, fine, there is an MIS era involved in this system as well, and along with that, these internal systems are now talking with our suppliers, and their suppliers are interlinked with them as well, and then we are somehow talking with our customers as well. So that is called business process redesign, which means this new strategic information system is not focusing on the internal system of the organization. Along with that, it is focused on the external systems of the organization as well. All the stakeholders of the organization, I would stakeholders customers, any external environment which could affect our business. So this is what is called strategic information system. We will read about that. I mean, the diagram came before, should have come afterwards actually. So we can go through this thing as it says, extending the scope, existing DP and MIS system. 1980s and 1990s saw the advent of strategic IS systems geared to improving an organization's competitive position, to change the way business is conducted, and or to establishing close links to business partners and customers. SIS are viewed as flexible, externally focused, and driven by business initiatives and requirements. The emphasis in planning thus shifts to understanding customer requirement and the business environment, with efforts directed to aligning IT efforts with the articulated business strategy. Thus, there was a shift in planning. Instead of using IT essentially to plan basic support services, planners and other managers recognize the potential of IT to offer competitive advantage and begin relying on planning as a key enabling factor in the achievement of business strategy. So now what the system is doing is not only giving you some database, it's not only talking within the company, it is also helping the companies in order to get that competitive advantage into the market. How? Obviously, when it's talking to suppliers, when it's talking to its customers, it's looking into the different factors of the environment which are controlling it. Everything has an effect on the business. And when the manager getting the feedback from the suppliers, from the customers, from the external market, economy, so many other things which are somehow affecting the business, it helps the manager to make those strategic decisions of the company. So now what the system is doing is I would say like it's working as a backbone of the company, because it is helping the managers to make the right decision and move the company into the right direction where they want the company should be going, and giving competitive advantage over its competitors. Going forward, obviously you can see there's another picture there which says internal business environment, which what you can say what exactly does cover the internal business environment. As a whole, you can say it's a business strategy, business scope, distinctive competencies, business governance. It's everything related to the business internally. What are the internal factors within the business? What's the scope of the business? How they are going to determine their competitiveness, and how the business is going to be governed. It means how the business is going to run. And along with that, you can see there's another thing called organization infrastructure and processes, which means administrative infrastructure, processes, skills and capabilities. These are all the internal factors of a business. One is the business strategy, what the business plan objectives are, and how the business is run, operationally, like what is the infrastructure they have got in place within the operation, how the systems are run, what the policies, procedures, processes are there. Like you can say, like, they might have got an ISO, which tells you the internal procedures, health and safety rules, clear job descriptions of the employees, job specifications, skills and capabilities of the staff member working. So this is all related to the internal business environment. Now, internal IT environment, which is IT strategy, technology, scope, IT competencies, IT governance, and then infrastructure and processes, technology, architecture, processes, skills and capabilities. Again, these all are interlinked with each other. When the business looks its internal scope, competencies, governance, administrative policies, procedures, skills, capabilities, and everything, and from there, then the IC strategy is developed, and based on that strategy, what strategy is there, that how the system should work, what the competencies should be, and things like. Based on that, then the procedures are developed within the IS system, that what are the procedures we need to have, what kind of technology we need to have in place, and what kind of skills and capabilities it should reflect once having a system in place. So this basically tells you about the internal business environment and the internal IT environment of a company. Going further, you've got strategic planning for emerging business models. I would go through this briefly. It says, if you guys have any distortion, you can let me know in the middle, and then obviously I can stop there, and then I can continue ahead a bit further. If I don't hear anything, then I'm assuming everything is fine. So okay, go ahead with that. And strategic planning for emerging business models. The word bureaucratic has been used advisedly to describe a formal and methodologically based strategic and IT planning regime. A typical response has been to move towards a more flexible, lighter, and less bureaucratic model of strategic thinking. This move also includes a move from rigor and analysis in strategic planning towards a softer, more creative, intelligently opportunistic, and more collaborative strategic thinking mode that emphasizes values and culture along with the business goals, objectives, and directions. So obviously now the strategic planning for emerging business models is not only talking about the internal, about the external, it is also talking about the goals and the objectives and the values and culture to adopt in those things as well. So it's all about what we repeated before as well. Is strategic planning for emerging business models is not talking about having system internally, but also we want them to be talking to them with each other. Along with that, they need to see the external market around them as well. So it's a mixture of everything. Now the business environment that is rapidly developing is one by which distinct boundaries between organization diminish and dissolve as organizations enter in a variety of possible relationships. Now, as we can see in this diagram, it says internal planning of organization, external business environment, and planning environment of the SPN, external business environment, and then internal planning of environment of organization, formalizations. So it basically reflects that the external environment is always affecting the internal environment of the organization, and you have to plan your internal environment accordingly, looking at all the external factors of the organization, and based on that, the internal systems are actually developed in an organization. A strategic planning model for the network organization, the respective fates of collaborating enterprises becomes increasingly intermingled. These interdependent business environments being described as an interconnected ecology of the firms or symbiotic networks. This is shown in figure 4.4, which we just saw, in contrast to the organization as an island, notion that was argued to be assumed by the SISP framework previously described. So I think we can explain this in the further diagram, which is this. As you can see, the interconnected ecologies of the firms. Now you can see this is our organization, and obviously we've got three systems in an organization which are talking to each other. Good, very good. First, three systems in the organization, that is obviously showing you the first level of the IS, and then they're talking to each other. Here you go, they're integrated. Now the third stage was they're now talking to the suppliers, their suppliers, customers, and afterwards now they're talking about the outsourced activities as well. So nowadays everything is interlinked with each other. One company can have a system in place where it can see where it can not only evaluate its internal procedures, but they can always see like how one system is affecting another system within the organization, and then they can somehow relate that information with its customers, with its suppliers, with its business partners, and all the outsourced activities which are related to the business. So that's called the ecology of the firm, which is like everything is in an ecosystem. When you talk about the ecosystem, it's about everything. So from the business point of view, the ecology is just like, you know, everything is interconnected. I thought probably this is a simplistic form of explaining everything. Now I think that was all about the brief history of information system, which I'm sure obviously when you guys are going to go through the book, you will read it more in more details. I think the whole idea was to give you an overview, and so that you know you've got an idea of how the systems are working, you've got an idea of how they are, where they are now, and what explain what basically. So I'll move forward now to the next thing, which is called value chain integration. Now, value chain integration, you're going to be studying two things in it. One is supply chain analysis and the value chain analysis. Just 1 minute, I will get back to you on this. Okay, now you guys can give me an example, like we talked about the systems in place. So do you guys have any example of wherever you're working, what kind of system you've got in place, and are there any IT system which they are using like DP or MIS or SIS? Are there any example which you guys can give me? So you know, it's going to be a little bit interactive then if you're talking like that. Okay, that's good. Okay. PMS and ERP, GMIS. Okay. Well, that's good to hear. So I'm sure it's quite easy to make you understand about the system when you're already using these systems, and that is good. As I said, like nowadays, and especially when you guys are working, you know, it makes things very easy. I remember when I was doing my first master's in Pakistan, I was working as well. And the good thing about doing your master's is like when you're studying this MBA program, everything is practical. Whatever you're studying, you can either see it at the same time where you're working, or you can either implement it at the same time where you're working. And when you guys are actually doing that, it gives you much more information than from the students who are only studying and they are waiting, you know, to finish their studies, go into the practical life, and then execute those information into their practical life. So I can exactly see where you guys are. If you're already working and starting an MBA program, and definitely is going to be helping you out, and you are definitely going to be seeing these things as well. Okay, so let us go further with this thing called supply. Let me open my presentation on my one. Okay, supply chain analysis and the value chain analysis. Going forward, supply chain analysis. We can say supply chain analysis involves working across multiple enterprises or companies, inter-enterprise, to shorten the supply chain time in the delivery of goods and services to the consumer or customer. The demand uncertainty in supply chains can be addressed by faster response times. A basic product supply chain can afford longer lead times and batch manufacturing of large lot sizes to meet the demand. Product quickly. Direction supporting more rapid changing of demand, whether a manufacturer is manufacturing and delivering it direct to the consumer who is consuming the product, or a middleman, and that eventually giving it to the consumer. Obviously, we're not talking about here about this at the moment, but I'm just giving you brief information about this thing. Now, the whole chain analysis, supply chain analysis, is all in simple word. You're talking about, like, how these things work. Having a process in place which tells you what are the procedures involved from the time when the systems are being manufacturing, how they go to depot, how they go from there, how the transportation things work, where they are stored, and how they are gone to the end user. So it's basically in simple ways talking about the whole procedures involved in the supply chain management. And here we will be studying it more. The business supply chain will comprise 5 components. It says supply chain replenishment, collaborative planning, collaborative development, procurement, logistics. Now, obviously, it says how the things are being replenished and what is the planning involved in collaborating all those procedures, how the product development is done, and the procurement, how the procurement takes place, and what are the logistics involved in it, how it is being transported from one place to another place. So, as I said again, like, it's all about the whole system you've got in place. How the planning is being executed, how the products are being collaborative, procurement and the logistics are involved. Now, the value chain analysis. Value chain analysis is used to identify a variety of potential sources of economic advantage. The analysis looks at firms' major activities as steps or transformative stages, each of which the good gains value. So basically, it looks more about, like, at what's the product is getting more value added to it, because obviously every step is more activities involved in regards to the transformation of that product. Point number 2 is the added value may take the form of a complex operation upon the goods, or simply moving them from one place to another. Well, it can either be complex operation, or it can either be a very simple transportation involved of this product in other ways. This analysis is done in order to understand the behavior of costs and the existing and potential sources of differentiation from others in the market. Obviously, this is done in order to evaluate the whole cost of the product. The whole chain analysis is done to see what are the costs involved to each process when you are going through this supply chain system, and it evaluates each and every part of it in order to see the cost behavior, and also to see the potential sources of differentiation, like, how the market is operating, how bad it is in the market, what procedures they have put in place, and things like that, to evaluate. And now it determines how the firm's own value chain interact with the value chain of suppliers, customers, and competitors. Again, as I said before, the value chain analysis, again, it determines on chain what system we've got in place in a company, and then obviously it indirects that with the chain of suppliers, customers, and the competitors. So basically, it's evaluating your whole procedures involved, how the things are coming from the suppliers to you, how your manufacturing process involved in it, and then how it is going to the customer. It is evaluating those things as well. Companies seek to gain competitive advantage from such analysis by finding out how to do some or all of these activities at lower cost. Aziz has got a network issue, is saying. I will wait for a minute, Aziz, and let me know once when you get connected. In the meanwhile, obviously, we are studying this. Okay, Aziz, you can let me know once when you're back. Okay, Aziz, are you there now? Yeah, I think others are fine. When you say, is it like you're having problem understanding me, or is my voice not very clear? What do you think? Okay, should I continue now? Okay, I think then probably it may be a connection on your side. If the connection is a little weak, then it's like when you talk on WhatsApp, if you talk on any other thing, if the speed is not good, then the voice is going to break. So let me know if this is okay now. Okay, I will continue then. Okay. So we were talking about this value chain analysis. It determines, I think we read that. Second point is companies seek competitive advantage from such analysis by finding out how to do some or all of these activities at lower cost or with greater differentiation than competitors. Customer focus, the delivery end of the value chain is the correct starting point for both supply chain and value chain analysis. Again, it says in the value chain analysis, obviously, we are seeking for the competitive advantage. And the reason we do that is because we want to lower down our costs. Let's say if you've got a procedures in place, you've got 5 steps involving this. After evaluating, when you say you come to the point, we don't need 5 processes in place, job can be done in 3 processes as well. Here you go, all the costs, all the money which you are investing in the rest of the 2 phases which are not required, you save the money. And when you save the money, you get a competitive advantage over your customer. Either you can go with the same prices and earn more profits, or either you can load on your profits, load on the cost, and then go into the market, get more marketing, expand your marketing policy of the company, how they want to proceed ahead. But at least the value chain analysis, what it does is it gives you information about this is where you're losing the money, this is how you can make the things better, this is how you can save the money. It's up to the company whether they want to keep the prices into the market, depends on what the product is, and utilize their profits in another expansion of the business, or probably go down with the prices and attract more customers. So it entirely depends. But at least what value chain analysis is telling you how to get a competitive advantage over your customers, on your suppliers, competitors in the market, and then obviously the customer focus is there as well, from the starting point for both supply chain and the value chain analysis. Now, if you go further with the supply chain management, also known as supplier retailer collaboration or efficient consumer response, is an idea that has gained considerable. Generally, supply chain management can be described as a concept aimed at reducing costs, involving in getting goods from their origin to the consumer along the often complex path taking as they move from place to place and handler to handler in the supply chain. The mechanism to achieve these goals can be divided into two categories: operation management and marketing. So supply chain management, the whole goal is basically to run the whole management process and see wherever you can reduce the cost, how you can reduce the cost, how you can make it more effective, more reliable, how you can shorten the time span of that, helps you in reducing the cost. And then again, that's what supply chain management. And as it is explaining, there are two categories involved in it. One is operations management and one is marketing. Operation management is again talking about the whole procedures involved within the company. Firstly, how you can shorten them out, how you can reduce the cost, how you can make them more effective. Marketing, obviously capturing the market, advertising more for the customers, and that will eventually impact on your company in terms of increasing your supply chain for the customers. Now, we can identify supply chains in virtually every industry, linking the procurement process, transformation of raw material into finished product, and delivery of the product to customer through a distribution system. Supply chain of a packaged consumer goods manufacturer, for instance, comprise manufacturing, packaging, distribution, warehouse, and retail. So there are different kind of, sometimes the companies are buying stuff and selling them, sometimes they are manufacturing and selling them, sometimes the companies are making half of the product and getting half of the product from another company, and they're merging them together, resulting into a finished product for the customer. So there are different kind of things involved in stocking here. Managing this involves the coordination of the inventory and production capacity availability across several organizations to produce product that can satisfy forecasted demand in an environment with a high level of uncertainty. While derived from and mainly section context, SCM can equally well apply in any other service industry and may specifically relate to the management of the information rather than material. So again, it's talking about how the processes are done, how the different companies sometimes merge together to form a product, and all of the factors involved with it. Now, if we go to the next one, what the next slide says, let's read. It says network process and the value. Design and product management. It says competitive advantage through faster time to market, reduce R&D expenses, lower unit cost. Now, design and product management is basically you design and you do your own product management. Competitive advantage through faster time to market. So it helps the company in order to achieve the competitive advantage. It reduces the research and development cost. It lowers the unit value, because what you're doing is you're designing and doing your own product management. And then order management, planning, forecasting, and replenishment. It says competitive advantage and higher revenues from reduced stock out, lower costs through reduced inventory, low turn rates. So what happens is basically your order management is more like you're ordering it, and the reason it's saying is slow down the inventory cost is because you don't retain the stock with you all the time. What happens is basically you're ordering in when it has to go out, and that helps you in increasing the revenues from reduced stock outs, which means obviously you're not going to be retaining a lot of stock with you all the time through an effective order management and for your forecast. Like, let's say your products are going, let's say we've got 10,000 of demand every week, and with the better forecasting the company will know that it needs to order these kind of things in the future from the market, and then you order the things accordingly, and that helps you because you don't have to stock your stocks in the warehouse for a long time. So that helps you in the reduced cost, and that is why I said, like, higher revenues and things like that. The next one is distribution, lower costs to optimize shipping and fulfillment. Again, the distribution, if you are doing distribution on a big scale, it lower the cost because to optimize shipping and fulfillment, because you're doing orders in bulk, and because of the bulk in orders, it helps the company to achieve that competitive advantage in the market in terms of low pricing, and giving to the end users. Sourcing, competitive advantage and increased revenue through faster product introductions, decreased costs through and increased revenues from high quality. These are all different network processes, and the values attached to these products are here. The logistic parts. Okay, so when considering supply chain management from a logistic perspective, you will find two areas that have a considerable impact on the efficiency and effectiveness of the operations being performed. Product logistic, information logistic. Now, within each of these dimensions, we can identify the following areas for improvement: operating standards and replenishment. Reducing non-value added activities by using information technology will result in cost reduction, improved data accuracy, and less paperwork. Again, it says, like, if we are going to concentrate more on how to use information technology in the logistic parts, it will help the company in lowering down its costs, in having improved data and less paperwork involved. Because if you automate the whole system, let's say if you have automized the whole system, there is less manpower involved, which helps the company again in less cost. Apart from that, because the things are being run through an IT system, it reflects that the data involved in it is going to be more accurate. Why? Because it less human involvement means less mistakes, less faults. Because what is happening is less people are doing the manual work. It's more like the data is linked with each other, and the information is received on time. So it helps the company in reducing this cost and also improving the data, and results in the less paperwork. Now, the driving supply chain management. In its current state, most of the supply chain economics is coming from the retail side, where cost reduction is achievable. For example, inventory management or JIT. I say a lot of the supply chain management involved is seen into the retail industry, where these items are being produced to the stores, to the big grocery shops, and now the examples are like in the inventory management of the JIT. As you know, the JIT is like just in time. Usually in that system, the companies, they don't put a lot of stock. They just order the stock whenever they need there. Goes through the whole system, goes to the end user. So most of it is that. Another reason is awareness of changing demand of final consumer and the ability to harness them. Now, that is also driving supply chain management, because it all depends on the consumer. They can always impact on the demand of the product which the company is using. It depends on the awareness and obviously their ability to harness them. The emerging concentrations of power in a small group of retail organization is getting small. Again, that emerging concentration of power in a small group of retail organization is getting strong. The reason is why small retail organizations tend to develop more kind of customer bondings and things like that, and that that tend to help those companies getting a little bit of stronger edge into the market. For example, in the retail grocery trade across Europe, allows the retailer to exert pressure on the suppliers and along the entire chain of supply, even on manufacturers. So again, like as it says, there are great trade unions in the European states, and even the small suppliers can exert a lot of pressure on these growers for implying the things which they want to imply on them. Now, knowledge exchange and enabling technology. The exchange of knowledge and information between the partners participating in the improvement of a supply chain is a precondition for success. Depending on the chosen collaborative level, this may include the free access to analytical sales data, sales forecasts, internal logistic figures, purchasing behavior, consumer requirements, changing demands. Now again, as yes, because of the technology involved, the knowledge can easily be exchanged from one company to another company, which is again good for the whole sector of the business. Let's say if the sales data forecast and the register figures are being shared between the organizations, it helps the supplier and the company to do a better decision making for the future. For an improved systems which they have already got in, for increasing their sales forecast, for capturing more market, more stakeholders, more customers. If after having a better communication, and then it enables them to reduce or to avoid any extra expenditures which are happening in the production of or in the manufacturing of their products, which is going to be used by the customers. And as a result, if they reduce the cost, if there's a cost, which is going to obviously impact the customers as well. So this technology has helped the companies to exchange and enable them to reduce their cost in these manners. The information flows improve standing ability throughout the entire supply chain and allow fast responses to changes in environment, dynamic and variation in demand. And because the information is flowing electronically as well, so it helps the supply chain as well to adapt itself according to the changes in the environment. Let's say because of the IT, we know how the environment is going to be, how the weather is going to be tomorrow, and things like that. So any companies who are relying completely on a kind of a trade which could affect their business because of rain, because of any other thing, because of the technology, they can always make decisions like, fine, tomorrow, let's say, if I'm trying to find an example of how the system could impact this information could impact the business. But again, if I get it in my mind, I'll let you guys know. But in the meanwhile, I'm sure it's easy to make you understand that how the system will help in order to respond to any potential changes in the environment and things. It's a very simple thing, like the weather forecast. A lot of the, like I would say, the stock exchange you can talk about, and the inflation rate. Like let's say people, when they knew the currency is going to go up in the coming days because of whatsoever factors were involved, they all started buying the dollars because the dollar was going to go up in the future. So that's what I'm trying to explain, because all the external market, everything is so linked with each other. Now it helps every company as well to make those certain decisions, that because of this impact in the environment, they have to make, they can be proactive rather than being reactive towards the situation. The point number, what makes the information flow? Obviously technology in various forms and is the enabling factor for the successful implementation of improved supply chain in operations, since it makes possible the inexpensive, frequent and extensive exchange of information between the parties involved. Again, as I said, because of the information which is flowing so regular from one company to another company, and because of the technology, it helps those companies to remove all those factors out, and it helps them to make certain decisions, which obviously would help them in reducing their cost and help them in a better having a better supply chain in place. For this reason, proactive electronic data interchange (EDI) justified at cost among large corporations. This is one of the most common tools employed to allow information. Well, I'm summarizing everything. As we know that obviously we started about the IT, different systems and the information systems, and then how the supply chain works and how it impacts, and how the technology is helping to make it more effective, more cost effective for the manufacturers, for the suppliers, and for the customers, and for everyone. Well, I hope what we have studied today is enough for this block, or whatever was mentioned in the block 4. Just 1 minute, bear with me. Okay. I think Aziz is tired. Aziz is saying it's enough. I hope I was able to make everyone understand, and I have to go through this online system, and I think that this system does work. And if you guys would want, you can go back and look into this presentation. And I would suggest everyone, if you could please read through the book, and because that is going to come with it. Okay. Yeah, it is. I'm assuming it is uploaded, and because I'm new to this session, and this was my first lecture, which I was giving to you guys. So I hope I was able to communicate to you guys, and I hope I was able to give you some information, some knowledge about this blog. Anything you want to know, you can always email us, or whatever the mode of communication is. I will have to look into this, what the mode is. You guys are more than happy to ask us this information. Okay.
You are now on.
Hello. Yes. I think we're done here, and the class is finished now. I have mentioned the email address in the email, so if there are any questions, you guys are more than welcome to ask me. Okay, so good luck with everything, and have a good day, all of you, and take care. Allah Hafiz. Thank you so much. I think what will happen is I'll have to consult with my colleague, and how do you communicate with us? Is it like on WhatsApp, or is it like okay? So because I was giving lecture on behalf of Kamran, so I will ask him to send you guys about the timing of the next lecture. Yeah. Then hopefully, if he wants me to do the lecture, then I can get in touch. Otherwise, he can do that. So thank you so much for all of you for listening me for more than an hour. So take care of yourself, and good evening to you guys, and Allah Hafiz. Thank you. No problem. It's all right. Thank you so much.